Okay, no worries.
Brilliant. I've started recording Daniele. And just, sorry, I didn't introduce Daniele as well. So Daniele is our go-to guy for everything from an Adobe performance perspective. He's our site sort of contact over in Adobe. So if anything's going on, if anything's going wrong, if we ever need to liaise with Adobe, usually we kind of include Daniele in that discussion. Daniele also sent out a survey a little bit earlier this week on our utilization around Adobe Target. Unfortunately, our results were absolutely different. So this is also in attempts to try to start driving some of that underutilization to something that's probably a little bit more useful for us. So over to you, Chris. Thank you so much.
Perfect. No problem at all. So from my side, my name is Chris Atkirst, and I am an Adobe Target specialist. So I do work around evangelism and talking around the tools. I've been involved in the tool for 10 years, so very well versed. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll certainly try and help. From a very top line point of view, I just wanted to bring up this one slide to talk about the core features, and then actually as we go through, we will touch on the different capabilities that you have available to you today. So exactly as Maurice introduced us to at the start, we've obviously got this basic idea of testing. So Adobe Target as a tool enables you to do A/B/N testing as well as multivariate testing. Where the platform starts to become more interesting is when we start to use some of the more advanced features. So one of the features that we'll touch on today is a feature called Auto Allocate. And what Auto Allocate does is that it takes A/B testing and starts to automate some of the selection process for us. So Auto Allocate says, I have 5 different experiences. Which one should I show? And so it will look at the best performing offer and push that offer towards the majority of visitors so that they are seeing the best performing content on the website.
So is that like the model, Chris?
Pardon, what was that?
Is that like the multi-arm bandits model?
That is where we're going to come on to next. So the next piece here, the auto target, is when we start to add in the machine learning. And one of the algorithms within our machine learning is a multi-arm bandit. And what auto target and the multi-arm bandit does for us is that it will let's say I've got 5 different offers or hero banners on the Bupa website. When a visitor arrives, it will look at my persona and say, okay, this is an individual who has got who is in their 30s, or perhaps it's someone I can identify as being elderly, or I can see them as being an active lifestyle person. And it uses the machine learning to work out which piece of content will work best for that specific user, and it shows them that piece of content. And so the multi-arm bandit it pulls different levers to work out which content will work best for which type of persona. And as we work through, I'll talk about how we actually activate this. But moving from an A/B test to an auto allocate or to an auto target is extremely easy. So within the UI now, you can as you create your test, you can just say, okay, actually, I would like to use the auto target solution, and the tool will just start using automation. So I had a great example with Sky that 2 weeks ago. Their optimization manager decided that he would just give it a go. So Friday afternoon, he logged into the tool, changed an A/B test to an automated personalization test, and over the weekend was able to increase the performance of the test because the tool was working out which content should go to who. So by the time he got back on Monday morning, he was able to increase his performance by, I think it was like 7%. I mean, we're obviously talking a very small timescale, but it was an impressive increase over a short period of time. Experience targeting, which is where we'll come on to shortly, is really where we're able to use any data that we pick up in real time to change and select the right experience. So we think in the case of the homepage right now, where we've got health, dental, elderly care, and travel, in its most basic form, what we could say was, if someone has shown an interest in dental, then actually let's change some of the content across the website to be more appropriate to that person. So we're going to explicitly choose to put someone into a different group and show them different content across the website. So experience targeting is when we're very explicit about what we actually want to do. Mobile apps, clearly I can use any of the capabilities that we're talking about here in my mobile app testing as well. So that's for native iOS or Android devices. And then these last few here, automated personalization is an extension of auto target, where we're looking to really push some of that machine learning stuff, and we can talk through what that means. The automated personalization, whereas the auto target tries to make it as easy as possible to activate the machine learning, automated personalization is a little bit more involved. So you can choose where you put it, you can choose which algorithm you use, so you can choose the levers that you want to put in there. And I appreciate that. Obviously, I have to talk through a lot of features here, but the optimized recommendations, we'll get onto this. But for Bupa, this doesn't necessarily have to be a product. This could also be content as well. So actually, if I'm looking through content around dental or around elderly care, recommendations can actually find help articles and blog items, other content that you would like to surface alongside the content as people are navigating. And finally, experience everywhere is the fact that the tool is a very open platform. And so what we're going to come to is this idea of integrating Adobe Target with your Adobe Analytics solution. So the Adobe Target tool allows us to use segments from Adobe Analytics, but it also lets me report on my tests directly within Adobe Target as well. So we've got a bi-directional communication with Adobe Target, and I'll touch on those as we go through. I will dive into these core functionalities in a bit more detail as we go through, but up front, do you have any questions around what we've just spoken about?
Was there any? Sorry. Only one thing around, in your experience, the companies build new modules to run some of the automation. So do they kind of design new parts of the website that lend themselves better to changing content or changing images, or do they tend to use their existing layout?
It depends. It depends is the honest answer. So in Sky's example, they chose a small section of their homepage, and they are now replacing that with content, and that content is residing in Adobe Target, but it's just referring to content that they have created in their CMS. Some other people will refer to content that exists within their own CMS, and we'll just point to that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. But the tool can be extremely flexible there. So there's an option within the tool called a remote offer, and a remote offer is designed to be a piece of content that exists outside of Adobe Target. So to just expand on a few of the concepts there, the first thing is just around the profile. So as Adobe Target is being deployed, it is naturally picking up on key profile bits of information from your page. So whether it's around environmental variables such as the location of the user or the device that they're using, we're able to pick up that information in real time. But we're also able to pick up on more behavioral-based information. So, for example, if someone has been looking at the elderly care content, or they've been looking at the health insurance areas or the business areas, we can start to use all that information to create segments and then use that for then personalizing the website. And the tool will respond in real time. So actually, if I navigate to the dental area and back to the home page, in that same click back to the home page, the tool can use that information to now change the experience in the actual page itself. And so we're able to change the content very quickly across the actual website.
So Chris, I'm just going to make a comment here. So I think when it comes to testing, even some of the tests that we've designed before, we can tap into all this, right? We can currently do that now. But is it right in saying that because of all of these different variables that are available to us, sometimes you can get a little bit stuck up on actually which variables you want to use for the test?
Sure. Yeah.
It will actually resonate towards the more predictive variables and make those decisions for us, which in the long term could save us a lot of time.
Sorry, was that a question at the end?
Yeah. So I guess I started that saying, am I right in saying that? That's where a lot of the power becomes behind some of the automated features of the tools?
You're exactly right. Exactly right. And the automation is designed to give you some feedback as well. So as we run our models, we will then start to expose which variables are having an impact in terms of our selection process. A key thing for it, and in fact, this goes nicely into my next slide. So, obviously not a very informative slide, but this idea here is this is our symbol for what we've termed Adobe Sensei, and that is our umbrella term for all of the machine learning that we're doing within Adobe. And so there are a number of machine learning capabilities that we can leverage within Adobe Target. And that's where the tool will be using all of this data that it's got available to it, as well as what it learns about, and then applying that to what it learns about who likes which piece of content. And so, what the tool eventually works out is, okay, I can see that Chris likes version A, but Daniele prefers version C. And so whenever it sees people like us, it will then move them into those, it will then show them that content as we then sort of progress around the actual website. One of the things I would say, though, is that we mentioned there about how do I find the variables that are having an impact. And one of the capabilities that we can turn on that we're not using in anger today on your environment is the integration between Adobe Target and Adobe Analytics. And fundamentally, what this allows me to do is in the one instance, it lets me take the reporting data from Target and puts it directly into Adobe Analytics. And so we end up with one version of the truth. So there is one reporting interface that is consistent across both platforms. And that also lets me ask deeper questions of my test. So if I run a test against my against perhaps some category-based content, and I want to understand how many people went on to acquire insurance, that can sometimes be a difficult question to ask within a pure play testing platform. But provided we're capturing that information within Adobe Analytics, we can ask all of those questions about what was the end result of this journey from the test that we've actually set up. And the important thing going back is then the metrics and segments. And so this functionality allows me to go and ask analytics, okay, let me have a look to see what are my key metrics that are really moving the website. Okay, I can see that when a business-based user arrives on the website between 9 and 5 p.m., they're always looking at content X. So perhaps I need to now run a test. And so what we're able to do is I can create a segment in analytics about this type of user and then move that to Adobe Target to actually activate And so this then removes the need for us to worry about all these metrics, because they will be coming from Adobe Analytics directly into Adobe Target. And so this is functionality that's available to us today. There is a small piece of activation work, but it is available to us today. Does that make sense from an integration point of view?
Yeah, it does.
Yep.
I think at the moment we're moving to a position where we're starting to create settings in each one of our different teams as well. Jen, I know you and Kevin come up with different segments of customers who give a particular behaviours or have particular pathways today. So it's good to know that we can kind of leverage those predefined segments, at least ones that we're making decisions of currently, to be able to drive at least some of the initial activities that we able to deliver through targets.
So we've had one test so far which used personalisation in a way.
Yep.
Performance. So it just shows if you identify areas and segments and how it automates just how much that could move the version.
Chris, I've got a quite practical question.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't actually delivering it. Just wondering what your experience was with other clients. So we're talking about developing multiple experiences that are then automatically allocated to different segments depending on which works best. So we might have 10 different versions of what the home pages are. Do your clients then generally, when they see which versions work for each segment within Target, do they then build those experiences off their CMS? Or do they just constantly use Target to serve up these different experiences?
It would depend. Yes. Some of our customers will reference the content from within their CMS, and so what Adobe Target then does is that it becomes a decision engine. So Adobe Target it says to the CMS, show the version for the dental, show the version for the elderly care, and that way we can then keep the content being maintained within your CMS. What would be useful would be for us to just sit down and work through what that actually looked like. Certainly happy to sort of pick that up in a more sort of detailed discussion.
What's an interesting, because they use Target quite heavily, is they might design it quite easily using the GUI interface that is in Adobe Target today, so you know, changing the imagery and all that stuff. And if a hero design wins, they then build that and use that as one of the they use WordPress. And rather than become the champion, it's not experience we saw, it just becomes as part of the library of different content that it can reference within the CMS, and then Target is the decisioning engine that says, for people who exhibit these traits by the variables against them, serve them this design or that.
How would that be on? Is it like the personalisation? Yeah, you know, we're serving all these different options, but the core is the same. Yeah, this is something I was asking about quite recently, because I was quite interested. I think I spoke to you about it. But I think it's that they only index one version of it. Yeah, but there's a way that it just has that.
So you know, this is becoming a position of ignorance. This is a really question. So you know, is it based on what would be or would have been searched for as well? Like, does that make sense? Yeah, like because they're trying to serve the best experience for a user. So the way I've got to tell you my mind, this is where I'm opening is if a user searches for a particular term, then make sure that we provide the most relevant results as a result for that. So we are using personalization on the page, and we are starting to see better results in tailoring the content on that page anyway. And if the crawler goes into our site and sees that that's the experience that they're getting, because based on that search term, this is what we should be providing, would that not have a positive impact on the SEO?
Yeah.
But my assumption is that they want
So it's
so it's my version. Yeah.
I think personalisation. So there's all these different versions, which ones,
It's one deputy app.
Do you have any experience within that, Chris?
Sorry, any experience with?
With the impact of personalisation to SEO performance, if we had multiple designs or experiences?
No, there is. So and this is from an SEO point of view, do you mean?
Yeah, I'll look into that.
I mean, in theory, if you've got, right now, we don't have personalisation and we use content on 5 subject matters, we'll have 5 pages. That's good for SEO. If we have one page with 5 versions that Adobe pull in, but Google can only read one of them, that's bad for us. So just make sure that the site structure and the context still works. That the person
That's correct.
I was thinking about the way I think of it, there's one topic that's slightly different versions of the same page. Well, that's the way that I do like that's why I think if it was that way, if it was that there's one main page and then which you say like Google like you read this one, and then there's like 5 different ones that could be served to slightly different purposes. I think I'm thinking of that off the back of that testing then that would be harmful if it's such a different version of the page where it's like, well, say for example, which could be like however version, that would be really harmful, wouldn't it? And then sorry, because I've got a question about, so we're looking at deploying accelerated mobile pages on the site, might be a little way off. We've heard the rumour that maybe you can't use testing tools.
Yeah, so there is. It's definitely more challenging within the mobile optimized pages. Within the if you're using something like the AMP framework, I know that our analytics has been accepted into the group. Let me find out what the process is around personalization. I can come back to you on that.
Thank you.
Let me breeze over this one. What I've got in the deck are just some examples in terms of some real-world examples of where the analytics and target come together is useful. In terms of the rest of the deck, really just what I've designed it around is just talking through where we start to see people using different types of automation. So, as I mentioned before, within the solution that Bupa have available, there is a huge amount of automation that we can actually use as part of our testing. And so, when you're thinking about, okay, I've got my homepage and I've got all this content to show, how do I make sure that the right person sees the right type of content? This is where some of the automation can start to come in, and we can have one page which starts to adapt to the person as they actually arrive onto the actual website itself. And so one of the ways that we build this out is by using a simple use case. And so in our simple use case, we're going to think about having these 3 different versions of a page, version A, B, and C. And the idea is that actually if we were to run a straight A, B, C test, then actually the outcome would be that actually we might have a very, very positive outcome. We might be able to find that actually by using version C that we're able to create an increment on the actual test itself, which is, there's nothing wrong with making an increment, but where the solution starts to come into play is when we're able to start to use some of the more automation capabilities. So in this instance, what we've actually done, I'm not sure what's happened to my numbers. They seem to have got a bit skew-iff. But what the tool actually is doing now is that it's been able to identify the solution that was winning the most and said, okay, actually, let me push more traffic to that winning experience earlier in the actual test itself. And so as a consequence, we're able to lift the performance from just the standard revenue numbers that we saw before to having a lift of, in this case, £225. But you get the idea that actually what we're doing here is that we're shifting traffic from these poor performing experiences into our best performing experience, and that then boosts our performance. By stepping this on once more, actually what we're able to do is that we might find that people who are high value business customers, people who arrive at the weekend, or everybody else, actually prefer different types of content as they move around the actual website. And so now, by using our modeling, we're able to push our gold customers to seeing version A. We're able to push weekend customers to seeing version B, and everybody else saw version C. And so the outcome is that we end up with this net gain on top of each of the different experiences, where the model was able to use all the metrics it had available, all the profile data it had available to find the right content for the right user, to give Bupa the highest level of lift it can provide within an actual test. And so this was just to sort of try and bring that to life. And so within the presentation, I'm happy to sort of share this right afterwards, but we do then have some nice examples of customers using the actual tool itself, and I'm also happy to sort of help put you in touch with other customers who are using the automation. So HSBC, for example, they did a presentation for us at our yearly marketing summit, where they spoke about how they're using personalization across the website. And as I say, we've just recently kicked off some work with Sky as well, to actually drive automated machine learning based personalization. So,
Chris, I know I couldn't make it on the 18th when the customers were going to be at the CX forum. There might be an opportunity for them to use.
Of course. Yep. No, totally. I will let me share. So you're exactly right, Maurice. So Adobe are put on regular roundtables and events that enable us to sort of get customers together to have more informal chats. So there is a customer experience forum taking place on the 18th of October, and that forum is designed. One of the key topics of that forum is around AI and how customers are looking to leverage that. So I think we've got Swisscom coming and talking about how they're using AI to drive the experiences across the website. So I'll share around the invitation for that, and feel free to sign up and come and find out how people are using that. I see that we're... Sorry, go on.
I was just saying thank you. That sounds good.
Yep. I see that we're at 4 o'clock. In the rest of my deck, I had some content in there around recommendations. Is it worth me covering that off, or do you have any questions that I can answer now?
Actually, what I'll do, it does bring us to the end of the session. What I'll do is, for the people that are interested in taking this discussion a little bit further, remember we mentioned, Chris, that we'll probably set up another session to go through a little bit of demo with an additional focus, which is very important to us in this team, of actually what does that mean to actually deliver these sorts of solutions on our site? Because I think that there is a little bit of one of the things that might have contributed to our underutilization of the tool is how well it plays nicely with our actual website and how it can actually explore complex tests that we've been able to state through other means. So we could probably set up the time to kind of start pressure testing that a little bit further in a bigger deep dive. But I think this kind of wets the palate a little bit in terms of some of the cool things that it can do.
Yeah, definitely. Chris, just one other thing, you don't need to answer now, but just to see, has Adobe got any kind of official point of view on how GDPR impacts the use of web data personally?
We do. We've got a white paper. Let me dig that out and send it across.
Great, thanks a lot.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that, Chris. I really appreciate you pulling this together on short notice.
No problem at all.
I'll get in touch a little bit later on this evening to kind of pull up the next. So yeah, I'll send that through. But thank you so much, Daniele. I hope it was educational for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. No, it was a very interesting session. I got some issue to hear you guys from the office, but I could hear Chris very well. So it was a very interesting insight. Looking forward to see more, and to get the recording possibly. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Have a good afternoon, guys. Speak soon.
Great, you too.
See you. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks, Maurice.